welcome everybody to the Economic Development Advisory Board for the month of February. Can we have a roll call, please?
Carol Pillen.
Here.
Christo Moranis.
Here.
Larry McDermott.
Here.
Keith Norton. Nancy Kiefer.
Here.
Bob Rand.
Here.
Helga Van Eckert. Victor Gooding. And Harry Lloyd.
Here.
All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. Can we have, everybody received a copy of the minutes of the previous meeting? Could we have a?
Yeah, I move to accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Reports. Let's see, Helga's not here. Keith is not here from Team Volusia. That maybe perhaps they'll show up a little late. We'll circle back to them if they do. Nancy from the chamber.
Yes, good morning. Just a few things to share. Some very exciting news for the end of this week. We actually are doing the groundbreaking on the East ISB construction project on Friday. It'll be at the base of the bridge. There's parking there. FDOT, Representative Leak, Miriam Giabi, and myself will be speaking. City officials will be there. So 11 o'clock on Friday. You know, it's been a long time in the works, so it'll be nice to see some dirt moving. So that's really exciting. The only other thing that I have on schedule is our next Eggs and Issues will feature Dr. I can never say her name.
Start over again.
Dr. B from the Volusia County School District. She'll be our featured speaker. That is the Eggs and Issues program, and that is March 9th, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yes, March 9th, and she'll be talking about the relationships between business and the schools, and she's, you know, a real fabulous speaker, so we're excited to welcome her. And obviously, we're putting together all the plans for Volusia Days, which is March 28th and 29th in Tallahassee. Working on a lot of the legislative bills that are being tracked right now, including those on affordable housing, tort reform, insurance costs. So it should be a very interesting session when we arrive in Tallahassee. So that's it for me.
Very good. Any questions for Nancy?
I want to comment on your annual meeting was fantastic.
Thank you.
We could have listened to Ben all night long.
Yeah, it was 600 people. The paper said 400, but it was 600 people, and Dr. Ben Sass and Lieutenant Governor Nunez in a great conversation, not only about the future plans for the University of Florida, which is really important to everybody in the state, but just his context of the his time on the Intelligence Committee, which was pretty eye-opening. So
it's almost sad he's not in our government anymore.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And again, the opportunity to recognize our emergency management department for all of their work on the hurricanes, and Randy Dye was awarded the Glenn Ritchie Leadership Award. So
Good morning.
Really good morning.
Come right on in.
Come on in, Keith.
I was trying to stay out of the camera so that Nancy could be undisturbed.
Keith, are you ready to give us an update, or do you want to wait a few minutes? You all set?
Happy to.
Okay. Very good. Keith Norton.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. We've had a busy month with outreach, also with activity, but we were able to actually be invited to a mission with the U.S. Commercial Service in Brazil. So we met with over 175 companies there for a 3-day mission, invited by the U.S. Commercial Service, the state of Georgia, and the state of Texas. So Volusia County really was very much highlighted, and we have a lot of leads from that. We were recently, yesterday, at Synops, which is a technology show in Tampa, had meetings there with Team Florida. And then due to a grant that we received from Duke Energy, we were able to host site selectors from around the country at the Rolex 24. So they were our co-host, and it really was a wonderful event. Consultants that would not have been here before visited, and so that was a wonderful opportunity for us to highlight Volusia County and everything that was in store. We also have continued to have a very aggressive visit activity, and we're looking forward to the annual meeting that is scheduled for March 9th, and I'm happy to say that we have the new President and Secretary of Commerce for Florida, Laura DeBella, and also Mark Brokender with the Space Force. So we have two speakers. Laura will be the opening speaker to represent Governor DeSantis, and then we have Mark with the Space Force. So we're excited about that program. It's March 9th. Investors, $150, and non-members are $200.
Very good.
Can I just add, Can I just add two more things? In anticipation, obviously, of Speed Week, which we're in right now, the Daytona 500 is sold out again, which is really exciting news for the community. We had the opportunity to bring Fox Weather News into the area to do a little promo on the importance of people continuing to visit as we rebuild, and it was a real positive spin on all the resilience of our community. And we brokered that, had some of our hotelier and a restaurant, so that's going to run during the 500 week. So that'll be some great national exposure for the community. The second part is, we do have Bike Week right around the corner. So, just to remind everybody, it's going to be a very, very busy time, beginning March 3rd.
Yeah.
And we also are working with some local businesses, and I'll be doing an interview with a lobbyist out of Washington on the affordability of healthcare for small business. So we're trying to help them enact some legislation federally, whether it's a tax credit for health insurance for small businesses, really to try and level the playing field, so that small businesses can use retention of employees and health insurance plans to keep their employees, just as bigger businesses get that opportunity through group discounts. So, those are a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that people don't know about, but also great exposure and advocacy on behalf of our community.
That sounds like a great program. I mean, that's a big deal.
Did I hear you both right? Like March the 9th is Eggs and Issues and March the 9th is your annual meeting?
Yes, that way you don't have to
All
cook.
right.
Sunrise, sundown.
There may be a lunch meeting. There usually is.
Yeah, right.
It's an amazing set of circumstances. So
Very good.
diet the Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday of Bike Week before you
Before,
go to
yeah,
Eggs and
Bike Week,
Issues
yeah.
and our annual meeting. We did not, Nancy and I did not plan that.
Get all this coordinated?
Yeah,
Oh,
at least they're not at the same time. That's-
Yeah, right,
we
there you
Strive
go.
to not compete.
There you go. Very
Conflict.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Nancy. Okay, let's move on. Any old business that we need to discuss? We'll move on to new business. The Economic and Strategic Opportunities Report. Jeff, do you want to lead us on that?
Yeah, so Mr. Chairman, you see the list that we had from the technical review team in January. This does not also include, I think we responded to, I think there were 4 requests that came out of Keith's group on site selection of properties. We responded to those. We were also working with a business in town that wants to relocate. We found them a location. However, when they went to go talk to the property owner on a pretty good sized building here in town, that earlier that day they had received a contract on the property, so they are doing their due diligence, so they're waiting on those 30 days. But it is a business that is currently, call it towards the downtown area. It's off of Main Street. They want to move out to ISB and also expand their business that they currently are providing now. So we've been working with them. The other part of that report is part of what I was going to talk about next under item B. which is Project Robin, which came through Team Volusia as well. We've not been able to finalize our potential incentive package to present to them. There's an issue that while working on getting the information for this body, the updated information causes some concern and something we got to work through because it almost throws them not, I won't say out of the incentive realm, but it puts them really marginally on the border of not being eligible for the program. So that's something now that we're working through. So I will be bringing that back. And then also, hopefully by that time, we will have the full incentive agreement as opposed to what we were just going to talk about today, which is here's what our program allows and here's what we anticipate being able to give them, but actually have the agreement in hand.
So without revealing any details on the project, can you give us an overview of kind of number of jobs this could create or
So it's going to be right about 100 jobs. It's going to be about a $40 million facility being constructed. And I'll tell you that it's in the healthcare realm.
Oh, good. Very good.
I think I can say that. Yes. Okay. I already did, so.
Not too much information revealed, but just enough.
And it was a competitive project, so it came in from, I think I can say this too, one of the consultants with whom we work, so,
Oh, good.
yeah,
Well, that's great to hear.
which is great.
So hopefully we'll be able to present that at our next meeting for your consideration. The next thing is you see that our COs issued for the month of January. We're still, we had one down month and now we're back up to, over 100 units being permitted here in the city a month, which is consistent to what you saw in the paper with the number of building permits that were actually issued. The difference that you may see in those are, these are actually the number of units, whereas an apartment complex would only get one building permit for each phase, let's say. Here, we're actually talking about the number of units. So that's why you'll see at the end of the year when I go back, and I'll bring it back for our next meeting, is year over year, I'll go back and pull a couple of years. The number of units being produced is going to be significantly higher than those number of building permits. And that's where that
Understood. Yeah.
where the differences in the numbers comes from is strictly that. But again,
Multifamily are the apartments? Is that what you? Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah, so multifamily is going to be anything 3 or more units.
Okay.
And that's just the way our system tracks it. And one of the things I don't know, and I'm going to have to go back, and now that you've asked that question, I'm going to go back and think of, and have to talk to our building department is, say, are townhomes considered single family or are they multifamily? Because we're starting to see that market in particular. We've got probably about 4 projects moving through the permitting process right now that are townhomes. And I don't know yet how we consider those. If we consider those single family or are they multifamily, well, I'll get you that answer as well. So when you start to see those projects come online and when construction starts, then you'll understand where that's at.
Jeff,
go ahead.
do you capture this kind of data for commercial projects too? This is all residential.
Yeah, I do. I can pull and see what kind of information I get as far as commercial. Do we get actual?
Yeah, maybe quarterly. It's a little different animal.
Yeah.
You know.
I'll see how I can pull that information together as
Be
well.
interesting to see.
It would seem that if you pulled permits, that would include home operated businesses. So I don't know how you'd have to. I guess you'd have to look at number of new commercial buildings.
Construction.
Right.
More than renovations, unless it's huge. I mean, this is broken down categorically by single families and multifamily. If you could do some kind of grouping,
Yeah, I can do that.
just to keep our finger on the commercial end of this too.
I can do that.
That'd be
Uh,
good.
You can maybe do certificate of occupancies
Yeah,
and track
something.
that, COs.
Yeah, commercial COs, yes. I'll get with the building department. I'll figure out the best way to, because there's multiple permits issued for each of those, so maybe you're right, maybe that's what we just need to do is look at COs for commercial and report them
You do
accordingly.
shell permits, and then you do the tenant build out. I mean, it can get,
Correct.
it can get convoluted. I just was kind of trying to get a handle on the commercial side of it.
We'll do it. We'll get you something, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And to follow up, I was asked last time about not necessarily economic development, but Carol had asked me about the bridge going from City Island over to the Esplanade. That is a city facility currently. It is being reworked, and our hope is to have it open by summertime.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you talking about the,
The little the walkway.
The footbridge?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
you said that's gonna be done by summer?
Yeah, that's what I was told by Public Works.
That'd be great. Oh, yeah, okay. Because we're working with Brown and Brown about having some, using some of this area over here for 5K runs and things like that, you know, especially for the Epsom Tour thing coming up. So, anyway, that's in the works too. Nothing permanent yet.
So I'll just mention something that we've talked about in this committee before, is trying to identify parcels within the city that can be developed for light industrial use. And so if you know, I have an idea we're meeting later on, but if, you know, that's an area that we need to continue to work on, is trying to identify areas that will accommodate light industrial and industrial uses. You know, part of the mission of this committee is to monitor and encourage projects that create jobs, right? Or good paying jobs in the area. So that's an area that I'd like to spend some time on in the coming months, is looking at unincorporated areas perhaps that can be pursued by the city to bring into the city for future development, and what kind of incentives could be presented to the property owners that may encourage them to assist in that process. So that's something for future meetings.
Well, right in the middle of this report, the projects, you've got Tiki Supreme. Remember Joe Fisher? Mm-hmm. Okay, it's his two daughters. And I guess that they had a lease about 3 years ago, and it fell through. If they're getting that property, I don't know if they're renewing their PUD or whatever, but if they're starting to move forward, they probably have a tenant in there. Do you know anything about that? No. Do you know the Renee or the Fisher daughters?
I've met them, but I don't know them well. I know there's a broker that works as.
Yeah, it's McNerney.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that would be interesting as far as you're concerned. If they're working on a lease, you might want to call Dick and find out.
Yes.
If it's on this.
It's on this report.
Yeah, I mean,
I appreciate it.
So during the TRT meeting, it was asked of them, what, do you have a tenant already in line? And they indicated at that time that they had not. They're truly just going spec.
but then I can,
They were just truly doing it spec on the building, that they did not have a tenant. Yeah.
who'd you talk to?
It would have been the engineer for the project. But the question was asked of them, had they selected somebody yet?
Spec is even more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
They've never done spec.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's truly,
I think. the
cards
areas
may
we-
be held very closely to their chest.
Okay, very good. Yeah, some interesting projects coming before the TRT. But they are just projects coming before the TRT, and they may or may not materialize, so that's good. Okay, any consideration of the economic development incentive package for, we've got that.
Yep.
No public comment, I assume. I don't see anybody out in the audience. Anything else before we close out the meeting?
Well, where are we on the economic development strategies that we worked on?
So I'm putting them into a spreadsheet. I'm getting all that wording put into another document. We'll bring that back next month
Okay.
for our final review, make sure I heard what was said correctly. And that was me hearing it correctly, not what was said correctly. And so we'll get that back and then have it go through one last time. Just make sure all the wording is correct that I heard, put down on paper correctly. And then once we get that, then we'll turn it over to Doug, and then he'll take it to the Planning Commission for their approval, and then onto the City Commission, and then on to getting it changed through the year process.
Just aside from this, the Parks and Rec Department is doing the same thing. But it doesn't look like we've been involved in it, thanks to you. But the Parks and Rec, I don't know who's in charge of kind of updating all of that, and they're going through the same thing, I assume?
Eventually, everybody, the whole document's going to be gone through like that.
Okay.
I don't know where they're at the process. I was told I was the first one.
Oh, good. Well, that's good
Because
to know.
I was the one who was trying to get my feel for this committee and its purpose, which then, if I can read the original ordinance, says, this committee here is to make sure that we're implementing the economic element, which then leads me okay, so what's an economic element? And that's when I started looking through it, and I'm, by 2010 we'll do certain things. I think there was a date in there one time, and, I'm seeing names of organizations, and I'm like, I've never heard of this organization in a short time, and now I'm trying to find out from other staff members, like, have you heard of this? And they've been, some cases that group's been dissolved for years.
A long time.
And
I ask is because I'm chairman of the Parks and Rec Board, and nothing was ever, brought to us, and yet we're working hard here. It's wonderful, so I'm going to go on that side and start pushing a little bit. So thank you.
You're welcome. But that's the only reason why I got involved in. When I went to go talk to planning, I'm like, how come this? And I got a whole lot of history that makes some sense as to why the document looks the way that it does. And I said, well, I need to change some of this stuff because we need to
Well,
update
obviously
it.
it hasn't been done in quite a long
Yeah.
time overall, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Well, we've got a short meeting today.
Yes, sir.
So with that, we'll adjourn the meeting, and our next meeting date is March 15th.
15,
Correct.
okay.
All right?
Thank
Very
you
good.
all.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
This is another example of what goes on inside Daytona Beach when staff members work together to make the city's most valued commodities available for its public to help make Daytona Beach truly world famous. From the many community centers to the entire parks